Hello guys, welcome back to Putanspor, and today we will take a look at Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Nightcity, a review of the competitive tabletop adaptation of the famous video game. Because perhaps every successful video game will eventually get a tabletop adaptation. Sometimes it works out great, sometimes worse. Fortunately for us, Cyberpunk is the board game which was taken under the wings of Cool Mini or Not, a studio that rarely releases a downright bad game. In Gangs of Nightcity, as the name suggests, you became the boss of a gang that fights with the others in the streets for the control of the Night City. It was most as with the most cool mini or not games of late, it's classic area control game where you have map with squares that you occupy with figures and use the resources they provide to do some sorts of other mischiefs. However, Cyberpunk spices up the established system with series of missions and accompanying story. Moreover, the missions aren't just a single scenarios that don't affect anything. On the contrary, they branch out depending on how you make decisions through the game. It doesn't make Cyberpunk an outright story game like, I would say, Brotherhood of Venice, but rather sort of mix of Cthulhu, Dead May Die, or Blood Rage, which is at least some change from the classic soulless board control. There are three types of gangsters that you deploy on the game board. There is Soulist, kind of classic fighter who walks around and, well, kill your opponent. Then there is a technician who can hire mercenaries in the shop or on contracts, which are some sort of smaller side quests with rewards. And the last is the networker who hacks into the corporate networks in a minigame where you use die rolls to overcome the firewall, unlocking various in-game bonuses. Depending on which gang you choose, your henchmen potentially have different extra abilities, and it must be left to the developers that all the gangs operate equally and none are overpowered or too weak at the first glance. In addition to the basic dummies, you can also recruit outliers who serve as classic mercenaries slash mini heroes with special abilities. You will find some familiar video game faces here. True, Johnny Silverhand doesn't exactly look like Keanu Reeves in this small scale, but this is where the developers have gone a little wrong in terms of balancing them. In fact, some of the outliers are super strong, while others are, well, sort of incompetent. Since their supply is randomly drawn, someone can go and hire a hero that generates victory points automatically at the end of each round, while another player can have heroes which offer only generating victory points in certain conditions are met. Not to mention outliers that do only some minor buffs, which, well, it's quite unfair on the first side and you don't even need to play the game. The basic mechanics are fairly simple, which means it's no problem to expand the game to the complete novice in something like 5 minutes and you're ready to go. Once you have figures in zone, you can occupy shops, collect rewards, whether it's money, victory points, or contraband for purchases, or build a hideout and recruit new gangsters from it. Combat is done through simulations, revelation of combat cards, which are secretly purchased from arms dealer. These usually have some sort of special rules on them, but the main thing about the cards is their attack power, which is, well, then compared between the opponents. Again, very simple mechanics, and with exaggeration, that's pretty much all you need to play. Units are activated by type, and the actions, represented by custom tokens, are purely gangster activations plus special activations for buying weapons or building a hideout. And interesting part is that there is activation Joker, where you use the action and you can play any other action you want. And also managing this action is one of the more interesting systems in the game. You can always play two of your six possible actions on your turn, which will exhaust the six possible actions. Therefore, every fourth turn at the latest, instead of taking action, because you exit all of the six you have, you must take an upkeep turn where the part of the city you occupy earn new money slash points, recruit new gangster, or on and restart your actions. Which bring up an interesting tactical element where you are wondering whether to do some of your remaining actions in your next turn, even if they might be not as useful, or whenever you do maintenance, make some money, recruit someone, and reset other actions in this turn, making you ready for the next challenge. The game also has a solo mode, but is primarily designed as 2 to 4 players battle, or 5 with the families and outlaws expansion, but we will take about it in another time, but I have it. The game works quite well with 2, but it's even more fun with the higher numbers because it's when the real tug of war for resources comes in, and the game isn't so much about digging in somewhere in the middle of the board and just pushing each other. Unfortunately, a big downside of the game is the fact that it doesn't have much of cyberpunk feel, and it would easily be a generic Viking or samurai or ancient Egyptian mythology game, and it would work practically the same way. There are no character augmentation options or other, elements inherent to the cyberpunk genre or the premise, basically anything. The only thing that has any resemblance of Cyberpunk is, well, the hacking minigame, but it doesn't really put you all, in the Cyberpunk feel either because it's just, you roll dice and sliding, and then you are sliding tokens across the boards. That's everything. But talking about the game board is really, well, generally speaking, really well made, and even in the basic cardboard version, which is in the retail edition you can buy in the retail, not just in the Kickstarter. This basic cardboard version contains features that are often exclusive, well, to the neoprene game ads, which are paying extra and also usually a Kickstarter exclusive. And the game board is then not just the game board for moving pieces around, but it has the built-in spaces for cards. So for new weapons, contracts, or recruiting outliers. There's victory point counter, place formations, and even the aforementioned hacking minigame, which makes the game more manageable when everything has a place on the board, and it's great addition. And hopefully, the cool mini or not will, you know, do it in the other games in the future. Taking all around, Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Nightcity isn't a perfect game or the best tabletop adaptation of video game, but at the same time, it's, well, not the worst either. And if you ignore the poorly used theme, you're left with enjoyable and accessible area control game that spices up with story mission and at least one cyberpunk themed minigame. So getting to the verdict, in my opinion, Cyberpunk Gangs of Nightcity is a good game, a fact that not every adaptation of the famous franchise managed to achieve. If you want to try story-driven area control, which isn't as super complex, and you will probably won't be disappointed. The game works great in this regard, making it suitable for newcomers or cyberpunk fans, of which, well, who aren't die-hard board gamers, but would like to, stay in the video game world a while longer and experience something quite different. True, the proper cyberpunk atmosphere has to be, well, helped by themselves. So that was Poland's War and my review of Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Nightcity board game. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and, well, leave me something in the comments. Hopefully, see you on the next one. Bye, guys.